The key to a family. Your family could be your biggest wound. How to identify toxic relationships. First of all, I must remind you that this is a reflective essay and does not pretend to be a source of information. I am not a formal philosopher with studies, vocation, or authority to issue a formal definition. But even so, I would like to share with you what I think. The ideas presented here aim to offer a different perspective on what we experience in order to find personal well-being. The concept of family. Lately I've noticed a trend in social content, trying to redefine the concept family. In this new concept we consider non-directly blood-related individuals as members of family. Sometimes they're still blood-related, as uncles, cousins, grandparents, etc. They could also be people completely outside our genealogy, such as friends, co-workers, teachers, etc. In certain way it's natural. Not everyone is fortunate enough to live in a nuclear family, with a mom, dad, and siblings. Life is varied and unique. There are families formed by uncles and aunts in the role of parents, cousins as brothers, and even total strangers as part of our social unit. We have a clear thought: genealogy doesn't make a family, and not being related by blood doesn't exclude anyone from being family member. Now the question one cares to answer honestly: what makes a person a part of your family? It's important to be aware of our needs and the needs of others, and if we don't understand what family does to one, we might be seeding ill feelings and judgments into the being and society. The following is my interpretation of the knowledge provided by Luis Alfonso Ruiz Soto in his lecture about Huella de Abandono, that could be translated as abandonment mark. He mentions that in our early development we create some physical and psychological needs based on a system of values that we can't provide by ourselves. We need to obtain them from external sources. How we receive these values from these sources define a great deal of our behavior and perception of the world. When we perceive a lack or an excess from these values, we distort our vision of the world, and we shape our behavior around them. So, what are these values we are talking about? Affection provides love, for the simple fact that we exist. Support provides help and allows us to survive in different moments of our lives. Comprehension, it acknowledges our feelings and thoughts and their value. Pleasure provides positive stimulation and comfort. Inspiration, it provides values, customs, and behavior we aligned with our being. It reflects the values we want for ourselves. Knowledge provides data and information about our culture and world and how to use it in context. Recognition, it acknowledges our existence and values in the world. All our lives, we are instinctually looking for the source of these values. They are called the 7 sources. From birth, we are constantly looking for 7 sources. And there is cycle. We experiment in our lives related to these values. When we arrive to the world, we try to identify our first family members, the ones that will provide the 7 sources during infancy, mother and father. It's important to make notice of many things here. Firstly, no matter in what situation one grew up. If our biological parents were absent or if we were raised by other family members, we always have a mother and father figures. We instinctually look for them to recognize the basic archetypes of male and female. Sometimes our mother figure could be an aunt, our grandmother, or even teacher. Literally any person who starts providing some of the 7 sources automatically becomes part of the group we later will recognize as family. Note that this is strictly talking about the sex, which means biological differences. Gender is a social condition, defined by a cluster of concepts and adjectives we often associate with sex, but it's not actually connected. The sources are universal, but some of them can be influenced by culture. For example, the sources of support, affection, and pleasure are universal, and culture-free. Meanwhile, comprehension, inspiration, knowledge, and recognition, while they have a universal structure, they are influenced by the culture. For example, how do the comprehension is acknowledged? What do we consider knowledge? The values are the values inspire us, and what acts are symbols of recognition? We rarely see a single person fulfill all the sources at once. Is not impossible, but is highly unusual. However, is not unusual to see a single person contribute with more than one source. Actually, the most important roles on our family provide multiple sources simultaneously. The cycle of the 7 sources. During the first years of life, from newborn to 7 years old, there is tendency to obtain the 7 sources from the mother. During these years there is more emphasis on the values affection, support, comprehension, and pleasure. From 8 to 14 years, the tendency is to obtain the 7 sources from the father figure, and there is more emphasis on the values of inspiration, knowledge, and recognition. From 15 to 24 years, the adolescence process starts. There is the need to find a place in the world as an individual, and that means 2 things: disassociate from the parents and put to the test the collected values and knowledge. Trying to find individuality. During this period, we'll be looking for the 7 sources in friendships. Once the dust is settled, and adolescence ends, what it had to be experimented is experimented, and the need for a relationship is certain. We will learn that the romantic partner not only provides the 7 sources, but we also learned how to provide the sources to others. And finally, in the last part of the cycle, we decide that it is time to give the sources to a new generation. A family is born, and in the best possible scenario, the parents will provide the 7 sources for a newborn. Most of the cycle is natural, however sometimes it can be disrupted. The most common point of disruption is the 3rd stage or adolescence, and this happens when we don't receive the sources in the first 2 stages. As a result, we may experience what is called an eternal adolescent, who is always trying practice malformed or incorrect values. This disruption can only be healed by obtaining values from other sources that are interested in our well-being, and it requires us to take responsibility and accept that the acquired values are not useful, and they should be replaced with others that help us grow. Depending on if the person has a vocation for couple, having a romantic partner, or vocation for family, having children, proceeding to the last 2 stages is completely optional. The importance of family. The 7 sources are critical in the shaping of the individual. It creates our worldview and, in many ways, defines our behavior and tendencies and the rest of our values. Receiving the sources in lack or excess will affect the development of the individual. For example, a parent who provides too much support to their children will decrease their ability to problem solving and tolerance to frustration, while on the other hand, children with very few supports will develop resentment to their family members and a tendency to greed and reservation. The right amount of support will enable the children to create new skills, to solve problems, and enable them to experience life safely. However, this is easier said than done, because similarly to communication, one thing is how we transmit the sources, and another how the children receive them. I'll give you an example. There is a father and his son. The kid is having troubles with his math homework, and the parents are trying to show support, sit with him explaining the procedures and how the math works. For the parent, he is giving a source of support, but maybe the kid feels ashamed that he cannot solve the problem by himself and perceives this act as an attempt to humiliate him. So, the source of support is sent but not received. This is a common situation. Sometimes out of our control, and sometimes it requires just a bit of precaution. In the same example, offering also a bit of comprehension along with the support will prevent the intention to be distorted. By explaining that math is hard, there is no shame in feeling bad for this. If you put the effort, you'll be able to do it yourself, etc. Now, a family member is potentially anyone that provides some of the 7 sources. That means that even strangers could potentially become family members. And this isn't new. Literally since the radio was invented, massive media was able to provide sources for many generations, and while the culture evolves with these new values, each generation grows with a distorted view of the previous values. Let me provide you with an example. Wealth, beauty and confidence are 3 of the most important values of modern society. Wealth provides resources for survival and improvement, beauty provides a more pleasant and enjoyable environment, and confidence allows people in society to explore limits and perceive certainty in their decisions and acts. However, over time wealth has become greed, and to obtain more wealth we have to create artificial needs that hurts others. Beauty has become a requirement in society, to the point that we reject and bully anyone that does not conform to the standards. Confidence, instead of providing certainty, has reduced the skills of society in general under the false belief that they are good enough. The true family. Family can be anyone that can provide the 7 sources. Is my favorite idol a part of my family because it gives me inspiration? Is my school friend that pushes me to do things I don't want to do a source of recognition? This new definition of family is not in conflict with the concept of dysfunctional family. A family member that provides the 7 sources that create dissonance with the society around and other members of the family is still family, even if it is a toxic one. The true family will provide the individual, not only to work in society, but to be a true individual. Unique, loved and valued by society. Your true family are those who provide you with the elements to be your true self. Meanwhile, toxic members that prevent growth and well-being should be removed from the individual's family. Which means, not accepting the sources from that family member. Being genealogically related is not a license for abuse. Don't let strangers into your family. Loneliness sometimes lead to search for the 7 sources in unexpected places, TV, radio, internet, books, etc. We rarely question if the sources we are receiving are real, if the values we learn and assimilate are beneficial for us, or are just plans that only benefit others at our expense. Children will not question the sources until they have enough maturity, and adults are often absorbed in their own lives without question anything. Some examples to understand what I'm saying. Internet dares are something that appeals to people. It provides a source of recognition, that most of the time they don't provide knowledge or comprehension, and what is worse, invoke inspiration to values like recklessness, I will do it even if it's dangerous, and apathy, I will do it no matter what others said. Some dares are innocent enough, like the cold water bucket, others like trying to eat corn with a drill that actually ended in broken teeth, and some like making good deeds might look even helpful. However, we are not doing those good deeds because we feel the need to, but for the recognition of the dare. Strangers should not be part of your family. However, before we make sense of this idea, we need to understand that a stranger is someone who offers unquestioned influence that might conflict with our family values. Outsiders are not necessarily strangers, it all depends on the values and sources they provide. We should not let our fear for the strangers prevent us from making connections, we should make meaning relationships to invite someone to our family dynamic. If we are really interested in our families, we need to watch for our well-being as well as our family members. Tools for recognizing family members. As mentioned before, it all comes down to the 7 sources, but sometimes they could be a little abstract. So in order to identify them, we could use some questions. Source. Questions. Affection. Does this person love me unconditionally? This person doesn't demand anything in exchange for its affection? Support. Can I survive without the help I receive? Can I grow without the help I receive? Comprehension. Does this person know how I feel? Does this person empathize with me? Does this person help me to sort out my thoughts? Pleasure. Does this person's presence make me feel good? Does this person demonstrate its affection with gestures such as hugs, shaking hand, caresses, etc.? Does this person's affection demonstration create in me positive sensations? Inspiration. Do I want to imitate this person? Do I want to follow or act like this person? Do I feel that what this person does or says are things I want to do or say? Knowledge. Is this person helping me learn new things? Is this person helping me to develop new skills? Recognition. Does this person recognize the work and effort of the thing I do? Does this person celebrate my victories and improvements? The more a person contributes with the sources, the more important family member becomes. Conclusion. I hope you enjoyed this content. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you still have doubts or want to express your opinion, leave comment below. Don't feel pressured to subscribe. I understand that compromise is hard. Now you have the key to a real family. Use it to open a brighter future for you and your family. Remember, the power is yours.